Welcome back to the Brothers Graham. We're going to go with the part 2 of the Roast of Kevin Hart review that we're doing here. I wanted to touch on Tony. I thought when he got up to the podium, he did a good job. I mean, they were going hard on that man all night about him being racist and being a little swinging, batting for the other side. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah. I didn't realize it was. I wasn't sure what was going on with all that because I've seen Kill Tony and I think that's funny, but I don't know
yeah, that's pretty
anything
fun.
really about that man's like backstory or anything like that, his life or anything.
I didn't
So
either. I thought the joke Kevin Hart did about growing up in the hood, which described what he wore to the KKK meetings, I thought that was pretty freaking
uh,
funny. I was like, oh, that was a good one. I like that. I don't know,
there,
because I know we talked about, like, I mean, they went hard on him with everybody, and Joe Rogan's name was mentioned a couple times about how he's basically a suck up to Joe Rogan. Man, and how many Diddy references did they do? My goodness.
they did. Well, the
So
Diddy
many Diddy
party stuff with
parties.
Kevin,
Yeah.
man, like so many Diddy jokes, and he was, I went to one Diddy party,
Yeah.
and he's like, he knew I was there because he was there, and like
He looked back
it
and he
was
said,
hilarious.
yeah, that was funny. I
Well,
wish Cat
I mean,
Williams
people.
had a little more part to it, because I love Cat from growing up and watching him,
Oh
especially his
yeah,
stand-ups. I mean, I saw him
some of the
live in
funniest
Sacramento.
stand-ups I've
Yeah.
seen were his stand-up. Like,
His first stand-up killed. Like, that was one of
well,
the
that's
funniest
that's
stand-ups.
usually how it is with a lot of comedians before they go mainstream. Kevin Hart's first 3 stand-ups, his mainstream stand-ups, before he got really famous, some of the funniest comedy ever. Same thing with Cat Williams, with a lot of folks. And
Yeah.
then they get famous and then they do more stand-up. They don't have that time, or they're not taking that time like they used to, where they're sitting around preying on success and writing the funniest stuff ever. Now they're in success, and that time allocation kind of takes a back seat. And so
Yeah, it's
that's where
definitely
you get scripts and stuff from, like we were talking about in the last video. It's definitely interesting. But no, yeah, Cat Williams was hilarious to me because he's just like, I'm getting paid. That's the only
yeah,
reason I'm here.
yeah. He said, "I'll take your money." That was funny too. And when they referenced Dave Chappelle, they're like, "He came out and talked 2 punchlines. We need more from you, Chappelle. That's why all our subscriptions are going up." I was laughing. I was like, "Yeah, it's true." Cat got good reviews online though. They said he was one of the better people
Oh, for sure.
roasting of the night, which I think he was too. And then everybody wishes that he
Did
was on there
you
longer.
get the impression from his body language that he wanted to squash the beef with Kevin? Kevin Hart stood up like, "Hey man, we're grown. I don't want beef with you."
I
And like they came in for what appeared to be an awkward ass hug, and Kat said something to Kevin, and I was wondering if it was like, some slick shit,
he
like
did.
some
He was
slick
like, "You're
stuff. Like,
still
no,
smaller than me."
you're still on. Yeah, you still on
That'd
the
be
list.
horrible.
Quit playing.
Oh, something that would it'd been funny. It would be funny to
Because
know.
I also didn't know how, like,
Kevin went
what
hard on him
truths
too.
were.
If you remember when
Yeah,
Kevin got up at the end, he was on
yeah,
Cap
yeah,
for
yeah,
a
yeah.
while. He's
Yeah.
like, "You talking about, oh, all my movies?" He's like, "They don't need a pimp in Jumanji. Get out the tree, bitch." I was like,
That
"Oh."
was hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, like, I couldn't picture Cat William in any of the movies, like Jumanji, Get Hard, Enemy of the State, or whatever it was, with The Rock. Any of those movies, I don't see Cat William filling those shoes in that comedic standpoint.
Yeah.
So it was like when he was
Yeah.
referencing that, we all know that Cat Williams is crazy, not like actually
He's
crazy, but
just
says
kind of
out of
funny.
pocket
He's just
stuff.
a different funny than Kevin, is how I see it.
Yeah.
They're two
Well, him
different.
calling Kevin an industry puppet and people
Yeah.
controlling him and doing all these,
Well, yeah. Well, look at even
certain
when at
genre
the end,
style movies.
when The Rock was like, "Sit
And
on my knee," and everybody was like, "Then you'll really be doing what Cat said you was doing." Oh, and that was awkward too when he's like, "Take a suckle of my." I'm like, yeah, like I don't know. I thought a lot of the stuff Rock said was funny. I thought it was a little. I guess it depends on who you are. Or when he posted that picture of his dad and Kevin's dad on the jumbotron thing, and then the mug
yeah.
shot of Kevin's dad, I was like, "Oh man, like that's gotta hurt a little bit." I don't care who you are, that's
Well,
gotta
that's
hurt a
it's
little bit.
comedy. So you have all these high stake comedians up there on this
Yeah,
stage, and they're
trying to outdo
doing
each other.
very risque stuff. That's why I was like, dang man, like he doesn't care about his dad in a
Or
sense, but doesn't mean he doesn't love his dad.
yeah.
And then also the legacy.
Or even The Rock making fun of Kevin's wife, like talking about sleeping with
Oh
Kevin's
yeah.
wife left and right. I was like, ooh, ooh.
She's a very pretty girl, but we're talking about him cheating and stuff,
Yeah.
and nothing's off the table when it comes to a roast. And we all know Tom Brady had the same thing in his roast, and
Soon
it,
as he
it
soon
was
as he said
definitely.
As soon as he said tattoo, I knew right where he was going with that joke. I knew the punchline. I knew I was calling it out. And Cheryl was like looking at me. My wife was looking at me. She's like, "What? How do you know it?" I was like, I know where it's going. He's like, life size. I was like, yep. And he's like, don't worry, she had it the night before. I was like, oh, this.
That's
I thought
definitely.
The Rock's not a comedian. You know what I mean? He's not. He is not a
He's a personality
yes.
who can be funny if the script allows it and whatnot. He's a showman. That's what The Rock is. He's a showman.
When Kevin got up at the end, it was like I couldn't imagine waking up with anybody's bank accounts on this stage except for The Rock. Oh no, all that money's gonna be gone with AIDS. I was like, oh snap! They say he got the Ozempic. I was like, he can say what he wants. He's still
hard
big
on The Rock,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, well, I thought The Rock did. I didn't think he did bad. There was a lot of people that did worse, and I thought The Rock did all right. When they were talking about Pete Davidson banging all them girls, that was funny too. Where's the downside to this? They kept on talking about Pete Davidson. He said, "You're the whitest black guy pretending to be a white guy." And I was like, "Holy shit!" I was rolling, dude. That was so funny.
Well, yeah, they talked about his dad 9/11, but I've seen Pete Davidson stand up. I think his last one on Netflix I watched, he even references it and stuff. And so it's interesting. It's interesting to see.
If you didn't know all this, you just think it's a bunch of cringe stuff going on. So you got a lot of people that don't. That are writing about this thinking it's just horrible, and they don't get the background stories like you said because they don't know the people or the background stories of these people. But when they said that they all had, he said it looks like a stable up here, all three of them with their teeth, talking about Cheryl and Draymond and fucking Pete Davis's teeth. I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, their teeth instantly from the get go, you're like, damn, those white ass teeth.
Oh man.
I mean, I need to do some like Crest White strips or something.
Tony,
that man got some chompers on him too.
They're yellow too. They said he had mustard teeth. I was like, oh shit. And then they were dogging on Jeff Ross. Look, he said, I thought it was a Kool-Aid man coming out of the corner of my eye. I was dying laughing. I've used that joke before. Like guys at work, they're like the Cincinnati Reds out here from Ohio. So they come into work and there's this one bigger dude and his name's Joe. And they come out and I was like, hey, Kool-Aid. He's like, that one hurt, Alex.
Oh my God.
Well, you got red hat and red shirt on. What do you want me to tell you?
Well, it's funny that they addressed it too on the roast, man. Trying to get Eddie Murphy out. That was Kevin Hart's like idol, and Eddie Murphy. That's why Jeff Wright, he came out in the freaking Eddie Murphy Raw jumpsuit.
Yeah, Jeff Ross.
Was it Raw? I know he had a purple one and a red one. Jeff Ross came out. That's right. Jeff Ross came out in the red.
When he first came out, I immediately looked at Cheryl and said, he's not wearing Eddie's outfit. Like, there's only one man that can be in that outfit in this world, and that's Eddie Murphy. Raw and Delirious.
But Eddie Murphy don't want to do it, then he don't want to do it.
Raw and Delirious were off the fucking chain.
I could have gone without Usher's whole intro, man. I was
too.
like,
yeah.
That was corny to me.
I think they did it
cringe.
more for the genre of, like, in our 20s, Usher was big. So maybe that, they thought an older crowd might be watching this and that those songs played to them. I don't know. But
I like Usher as an artist to a degree. It's a lot of his work, and that was our teen years when Usher came out and when we were growing up, dude. But that whole opening though, I was like, I could have gone without that. But yeah, no, Pete Davidson, I thought he would have like a little bit more
to say.
Maybe a little more interaction, but not really. If anything, freaking Draymond, he got most of the heat, the whole thing. And so it's interesting how each roast has like somebody that catches the main focal point outside of the main person that's getting like who's getting roasted. And I feel like Shane, as you said in the last episode, Shane Gillis caught a lot of heat talking about being on the spectrum. And then Draymond Green, because there was people up on the stage that never even got addressed. Like, who the hell were all those dudes in the back on Kevin Hart's side?
Maybe
and then everyone else.
I don't know. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I don't know who those people are in the back. Some of them you could tell who they were. But then even like Venus and Serena Williams, when they came up, I thought that was a little like it slowed the show down.
Because it was all scripted, like heavily scripted. And they're reading it right there. That's what I didn't get as
when
well.
When you can
like,
tell they're reading off the prompter, it's like that. It kills the momentum of the show, I think. And that's why I think same thing with Shane Gillis.
From build up comedy.
Yeah.
But Shane Gillis is a naturally funny person, though. He's a good comedian.
But you could tell, like in the beginning when he was reading it off the prompter, it kind of like I'm not saying it was bad. It just slowed the momentum of the comedy down. He was doing better when he was off the cuff, coming up with his own stuff, or even like when Kevin Hart got up there, Kevin Hart's good at filling in the gaps. Remember, like his stand-up was like, "Fire on these hoes." And he'd do the fire, and this time it was the shotgun, shooting the gun every time. He's shooting them. I'm taking headshots. I ain't missing no one. It's pretty funny. But there's a lot of good moments in this thing. Overall, I would say it was funny. I guess I was expecting more because it was going to be Kevin Hart. Because his stand-ups are so funny, his movies and stuff. I'm not saying he's the best actor in the world, but he is watchable. Like they're like, oh,
Yeah.
his movies are horrible.
Well,
He's been in some great movies.
I expected more because obviously we didn't watch it live on Netflix.
Yeah.
Neither of us did. And then after hearing about how controversial it was, I mean, yeah, there was risque stuff in there, and yeah, some interesting stuff was said by interesting people.
Yeah,
but
that whole
it
George
wasn't
Floyd
as
comment.
exciting as what was it?
That whole George Floyd comment about looking up at us, laughing so hard he can't breathe. That was rough. I was like,
yeah,
that was
right,
rough.
a lot of rough stuff. But I also saw online that the issue was not necessarily with the joke, but who was delivering the jokes. And that was I mean, because if it was let's be honest here, if it was a full panel of African American comedians, a lot of those jokes wouldn't have been taken so seriously, maybe to some degree, or like as I said, like with Shane Gillis, he regretted one of the jokes. And would that be the case if it was delivered by somebody else, like an African American comedian?
Just like that on the reverse side too, you had black comedians calling Tony a Nazi and stuff like that. So I mean, it goes both ways.
But that's more normalized though. The acceptance of that is definitely more normalized.
You know where we grew up. We know what's,
for sure,
what's okay and what's taboo and what's not. And I mean, it's just out there. Kevin Hart's like, he wanted so bad to call me the N-word. I was like,
he wanted, yeah, that was so great. But also too, for us, we grew up in the 80s, and like it was Eddie Murphy, it was Richard Pryor, it was Def Jam, it was In Living Color, it was all these very real staples which build the foundation of what it is now.
Chris
for a
Tucker.
Lot of well, that's all. Anything Def Jam, whoever touched it, freaking so like
Michael, is that my hoe over there on the curb?
That definitely affected my whole life, growing up with that kind of comedy. Well, yeah, I mean, as I said, like that's why we watched the original Kevin Hart stand-ups, Cat Williams stand-ups, Kings of Comedy, stuff like that, Bernie Mac, all that stuff as it went through the 90s into the 2000s. And
God, I miss Bernie.
Watching this was definitely, it was funny, but I don't feel like it was as controversial as what I saw online. Yeah, the jokes, so be it. They were said, but at the end of the day, some of these people they didn't just pop off with this insensitively. It was pre-written, scripted jokes. And
well, Shane mentioned multiple times that he couldn't talk to her about it because he felt uncomfortable saying these. So he's like, I swear.
Well, he talked to Kevin about some. He talked to her, Cheryl. What was it? Cheryl Underwood about
her husband,
about that stuff, and it's.
And those are behind the scenes stuff we don't see. So and I think the whole thing with all this cancel culture, where it got popular for the longest time, now you have to do some outlandish stuff to, straight up outlandish stuff to get canceled. Now it's not as free as it used to be. I don't think.
Well, the outrage is still there. The outrage and the energy is still there. The response isn't as high as it was. Like, that depending on what website you look on the internet, one's like, oh my God, too much. Like, what is wrong with, so and so.
And then the algorithms start feeding you that stuff. And then you really think that, oh, this is a big controversy. And it really isn't. They're just feeding you the stories that align with what you're looking at.
Who was it? What was her name?
Which one?
Not Regina. Was it Regina Hall?
Yeah,
that was the girl that was reading or channeling the mom, right?
Yeah, channeling Kevin's mom.
Online it said that she didn't like any of the show. A lot of people were paying attention to her face because it was so unresponsive. That's what I was saying in the last video with her, that it was interesting to see, like, why was she up there? I don't remember outside of Scary. I mean, cool if it's your friend, put him in the lot, or put him up front, put him in front row or something. But it was weird. But it's a lot of the internet says that she
and we can't expect everyone to be 100%. But is it watchable?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Do you want to watch it? If you like comedy, I think you should watch it. If you like comedy, you like Kevin Hart, you like Cat Williams, you like the older genre comedians, there's some funny stuff in there. So, excuse me.
Also, too, like I'm,
Dad bless you.
My God, Stu.
Key and Peele, when he was acting like Will Smith's son. He just sneezed and he's like, Dad bless you.
Dad bless you.
A supermarket. He's like, when they go to buy food outside. When you're in the limo, the things that are passing by you. Anyway, that whole skit. But
I haven't seen Key and Peele in a minute,
I
but
love
yeah.
him.
No, I just felt like there could have been overall a lot more better people they could have had up on stage. I guess it was more close friends with Kevin and his
Yeah,
peer group, but
I was thinking,
it's
I
also
was
supposed
hoping
to be
you'd think maybe Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, like more peer comedians.
Snoop Dogg even. Snoop
Snoop
Dogg was
Dogg,
at other
yeah,
people's freaking roast that I never thought, but that's the thing, you don't know who
yeah,
turned it down.
yeah.
Wh I wanna know
Or scheduling might not
why
have worked, or
people turned it down and stuff like that, like, do people have reservations with Kevin Hart in the industry that we don't know about
and
because of
why
his
wasn't Eddie there? You know what I mean? Like, he
yeah.
was a big part of
Well,
Saturday Night Live, and
Eddie were
I
like,
know he's not as out in the open anymore, and he just did that Netflix special not too long ago. I love the joke he made about Cosby. He's like, "Who's the American dad now?" I was
"Oh,
like,
yeah, right, woo."
"Oh," and he took that shot. But anyway, all right,
Okay.
man. That's good. I think we touched base enough. Let us know your opinions, or if you found anything to be too controversial from this roast, or
Yeah,
what
if you
stood
watch
out to you.
yeah, if you watched the Kevin Hart roast, what was your opinion on it? Did you think it was too racially charged? Did you think the people that were delivering those charged jokes were okay doing so or totally inappropriate? Let us know in the comments.
All right, we'll catch y'all next time.